Welcome agents. In my last video I talked about the changes with phase 2 of the PTS and the very real possibility of a tank meta in the next update should the changes being made remain the same. Now today I want to talk about that meta and discuss some talent nerfs like Unstoppable Force which support that. Plus I do want to talk about the exotic rifle hinted at by the devs on stream. Now if you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button below and subscribe for dedicated Division content, and with that said, let's get to it. Okay, so if you didn't know, the PTS is currently testing NPC nerfs which include NPC damage and health above normal difficulty activities. This is across the board and mainly affects hard mode, and this has been made significantly easier. Challenging is a little easier and heroic has been barely touched. Now, the devs have also reduced the damage of named NPCs, so pretty much any NPC that's not a red bar has been nerfed, so you will find that activities are generally much easier than before, especially open world activities, as both veteran and elite NPCs got their damage reduced. The effects are quite significant on missions, obviously. Now the nerfs don't end there for NPCs, but I think you can see where I'm going with this. These changes alone mean we will be able to survive much longer in fights than before. So that alone wouldn't mean we are going towards sort of a tank meta, but there are some significant changes being tested that do for both PvE and PvP, so I just want to go over those. So first up, I recently showcased two new attributes, total armor percentage and health percentage. The one I showcased was plus 10.5% total armor as an attribute on gear, the health was plus 5%, and I believe the total armor especially can go up a lot more than that. I've seen it, I believe, at 16%. I think the health can all go up as well, so there's quite a significant change here. Now on top of this, the health and armor attribute values have been pretty much doubled as of right now. So I found two examples on Reddit showing this crazy increase in health and armor. The first one is this image from Gong Rong Zong, who showcased a build with 263,000 health. That's a crazy increase compared to the current live game. Now before anyone says that health is pointless, you're wrong. In my last video I had a few people commenting saying, well, it doesn't matter about health, because I talked about health like auto regenerating whilst in battle, where armor doesn't do that, and that's why it's important. But people say, well, once you lose your armor then your health disappears, and yes, that's very true, but the devs have already confirmed that both armor and health have the same value, okay? So they're both like 1-to-1. Now the reason why you get melted once your armor is gone, currently, certainly in the live game, is because generally most builds have about 4 times the amount of health than they do armor. So, you know, generally you're looking at about 50k health, 200k armor. That's kind of like, I would say, the generic build. But if you did have 100k armor and 100k health, they would diminish at the same rate, okay? So they are exactly the same, but because of the way builds currently are in armor, you get a lot more armor in the game than you do health. It does feel like health is pointless, but it actually isn't at all, okay? It's actually better than armor if you can get more health than armor, if that makes sense. So hopefully I've kind of just cleared that. The devs were the ones that's confirmed they are the same value. Now, with that in mind then, having 260k health and 180k armor is a crazy increase in survivability, especially, as I said, when health self-regenerates in battle, unlike armor does. Okay, so obviously you have to use a med kit, or there are certain, skills or talents. If you never had any of that stuff, your armor basically would not regenerate whilst in battle, I'll say in battle, but health will. So that's why health is very important. Now, this build on screen is not min-maxed either, and I think it could hit 300k health. So, in total, you're looking at about 500k as total armor and health on this character, which is a significant increase over what we currently have. I would say it's pretty much double what we currently have in the live game. So, that's pretty strong, but nothing compared to the armor in the PTS. Now take this build uploaded by, I can't even say this person's name, but I'm going to say Inigo Montoya TV. I apologise to this person. He's another YouTube Division content creator. He's very good. I'll leave a link to his channel down below. This is his build and basically an image of his build that was uploaded. Now this is not min-maxed at all, but this agent has over 100k health, which is pretty much double the average build currently in the live game, I would say, and over 370k armor. So, wow. Now, I've seen conversations on Reddit between community members talking about armor that could reach 500k if the build is min-maxed, which is basically double the armor currently in the live game. So you can already see why these changes, plus the NPC nerfs I mentioned before, that the current meta is going towards this tank meta. And believe me, it doesn't end there either. Some of the weapon talents that would have previously benefited from this armor increase, like Unstoppable Force for example, has been nerfed quite a lot. Let's take Unstoppable Force in the live game. Now it currently gives you 2% damage for 10k armor. And with the current builds in the game, 200k armor, this would give you, say, 40% increased damage. If we had 400k as per the PTS, you're looking at 80% increased damage. So, I can see why they needed to make changes to this. Now, with the current PTS, this talent has been changed to 2% damage per 25k armor. So, with the same armor, you're only actually going to be getting about 16% damage. And even at 400k armor, which is on the PTS, you're only going to be getting 32% increase damage. So that's still a 20% nerf on that particular talent if you compare it to the current live game and the average PTS sort of armor. I would say the 400k is around the average PTS armor from what I've seen. Now, again, this just adds to the tank meta that's forming right now. We've got a very good talent that is probably one of the meta talents, certainly with the changes to like Berserk and stuff. We've got this meta talent in many ways that the damage from this talent has been nerfed, and yet our survivability has been drastically increased. So if that doesn't scream tank, then let's just move on to some other examples. Now, another talent that reinforces this is Unbreakable, which got a huge buff. Unbreakable has been changed from giving you 25% of your max armor repair when depleted to 70%. Now, on top of this, you will require 11 defensive attributes, meaning you are likely going to be at the top end of armor and health when you can activate this particular talent. Now, let's say, your armor's at 400k armor and it gets depleted. 280k of your armor will be repaired if you proc this Unbreakable talent. Now, that's more than the total armor for most builds in the current live game. And it doesn't stop there, though. And there are so many talents that have been changed for the Phase 2 of the PTS, which lower damage and increase survivability. Critical has gone from 8% crit damage to 5%. Surgical has gone from 8% crit chance to 5%. Berserk now requires you to lose 20% of your max armor as opposed to 10, which is a pretty huge nerf. And the list does go on for quite some time. Now, almost all of these talent changes, not all, but most, have either nerfed damage or increased survivability. And on its own, that wouldn't be so bad. But when you consider everything I've said so far, it's very clear that the Division 2, with this PTS currently, is moving towards a tank meta, if these changes remain as they are when the update comes out. Now, I personally don't understand why you would increase survivability significantly and nerf NPCs and nerf or buff talents that increase your survivability. Now, am I missing something? Because were the NPC activities that difficult? Now, I'm not a good player generally. I'm not a god in PvE or PvP. I'm pretty average in both. I do okay. But this to me just seems a bit excessive. Now, could I solo an heroic mission? Maybe. But I would need to take some serious time making a great build and probably spend a very long time trying to complete it. In fact, I doubt I would even ever try it because I don't think I'd be able to do it. And from what I've seen and read, the PvE activities, regardless of level, have become much, much easier. Now, I'm not going to say it's been tailored more towards a casual audience now, although that's kind of how it looks. I'm not a hardcore player. If you didn't know, guys, I play maybe 2 or 3 hours a night. I have a full-time job. I wouldn't say I'm a hardcore player. I don't do heroic missions generally. I'm not going to be that player. And I feel like this has been tailored towards more of a casual audience, and the hardcore players have kind of not been shafted, that's the wrong word, but I feel like it's been tailored more towards that rather than the hardcore audience. That's how it feels currently. Now, could the devs have just upped our survivability a little and not nerfed NPCs? I feel like small incremental changes to these values would be the best way to reach the right balance. Not huge swings in armor, talent, attribute values, and all the other things that are currently being tested. Now, I've talked a lot here about PvE because that's the main focus of the game, but these changes will have a huge effect on PvP as well. Now, in my opinion, the current time to kill within conflict is probably a little bit too quick, but I don't think it needed a huge change, just a small one. Going from 70% PvP modifier to a 40% modifier is a huge change. This essentially means your damage to another player has been almost cut in half, which the dev state should allow players more time to react. I personally think it should have been changed to say 50% and tested, and then 60%, etc. Rather than just going from one end of the spectrum to the other. It just doesn't seem right to me. Now, I do think the time to kill should have been increased, but this change, plus the changes that have been made to damage talents, mean the time to kill has been drastically increased in PvP. And this spills over into the Dark Zone and the Occupied Dark Zone as well, where the change will be the most. That's where you're going to see the most effect of this change is in the Occupied Dark Zone. Going from no PvP modifier to a 40% modifier and these damage nerfs mean we could well be on our way to chicken dancing again due to the high time to kill. If you watched my last video, I actually talked about a Reddit post where two people fought against each other with builds that they'd made, tank builds, and neither of them could kill each other, basically. And even when they changed it to a DPS one versus a tank in many ways, they just couldn't kill each other because no one was doing enough damage and no one was taking enough damage. And they were just running in and out, running around in circles, and that's what I'm concerned about. Now, you might think that because gear is being normalized up, this means we'll do more damage, but that's not the case. This should essentially allow tanks to be tanks, DPS players to be DPS or DPS builds, and so on, but all of the changes combined means building for a tank is going to be the meta if the changes remain as they are. Anyway, I want you guys to let me know what you think of this. Of course, this is a test server and not live, but it does show the direction the devs are going. The armor and health changes will stay, that's almost guaranteed at this point, but we will likely see further changes to the talents, and I hope they move towards increasing ways to do more damage. Otherwise, the tank meta will become very real. And it's not like a good tank meta. It's not like, I could build for DPS and I could build for tank. There is some sort of tank in there. This is going full tank, basically. No one doing enough damage to combat a tank build, basically. And going back to the Division 1 where you would just have unkillable builds. We might as well just have Nomad and have 25 lives at this point. Anyway, moving on. Hamish Bode may have revealed that a new exotic assault rifle is on its way. Now, Redditor DET Archetype revealed that during a live stream, they told Hamish they would love to see an exotic assault rifle, and Hamish responded by saying, "I guess you'll be pretty happy then." Now, is this Hamish indirectly confirming a new exotic assault rifle, or is just him talking casually without any real substance? It's hard to say really, because this wouldn't be the first time the devs have accidentally revealed some on stream, but they've also said things that have never turned out to be anything at all. Now, you definitely want to be taking this with a pinch of salt, but I would expect further exotics to come shortly, and an exotic assault rifle is currently not out of the question, so maybe. Anyway guys, I'm going to leave that there. I've rambled on for far too long here. I wanted to make this video because I am concerned the tank meta is going to become the new thing in the Division 2. I wanted balance. It doesn't appear to be going that way. We do have Phase 3 of the PTS, so hopefully with all the feedback they change it so that there are going to be more ways to do damage, and thus you can have a DPS build, and you can have a skill build, and you can have a tank build, and they're all viable options rather than just having one meta. Now, I do understand in this type of game there's always going to be one meta, but I don't want it to be, at the moment it seems to be that it's going to be tank by far. It's not like, that is the best build, but these other ones are viable. It's by far the best way to build currently, and I think that needs to be changed. Anyway, thanks for your support, guys, and until the next one, Epic out.